Welcome from my side. My name is Florian Weber, and I'm very happy being here today. I am here to present you one of my research papers, which is about corporate social responsibility strategies for legitimacy. I'm sure you'll ask me, what are you doing here? What is this guy doing here? I am a PhD student at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany, and doing my research on the broad field of corporate social responsibility. In August, my second baby child was born, and I'm on parental leave now. So I'm here on Gran Canaria with my family right now, and as I'm very keen on economics and researching, I contacted the university. Thank you very much, Jorge, for the invitation. Yeah, besides the presentation today, I would be very happy to get in contact with you, to get into discussion with you. Maybe there's a chance to have some kind of cooperation and to do some stuff together. This would be really great. So yeah, let's start out with the corporate social responsibility strategies. Here is a slide about my CV. It's just as I have some academic experience as well as some practical experience in companies. Yeah. I skip through it. In 2009, yeah, just let me add one more sentence. We will have some time for discussion after the presentation, and I would be very happy to receive your feedback and your comments to further improve this paper. So I work on it already for quite a while, but I didn't submit yet to a journal. I'm on the step before, so your feedback is warmly welcome. So just throw it to me. Yeah, in 2009, The Economist published an interesting article called Germany's Flawed Corporate Governance. It says, big companies such as Deutsche Bank, Deutsche Telekom, Deutsche Bahn, and Lidl have been caught spying on workers, journalists, or board members. Siemens has confessed to bribing customers, and MAN is being investigated for the same. At Volkswagen, a manager was caught paying off a member of its supervisory board, and so on. So a big issue, things that happen, and the latest scandal, I'm sure everyone read about it, is the Volkswagen emissions trading scandal, where the question comes up, how do people think about those companies? What about the acceptance of companies in the society, and what about especially legitimacy of the companies? Legitimacy as the fundament for long-term success, for long-term existence, the license to operate of companies. Even through the crisis in 2008 and 2009, this effect of shrinking trust and shrinking acceptance of companies increased, and more the question comes up, are companies legitimate? And some researchers go as far and say the whole economic system, not only the single companies, but the whole business world and the whole economic system is in question. So what can companies do in such a situation? And here CSR comes into play, because corporate social responsibility is a means of stakeholder management. It deals with different stakeholder issues, and is about environmental, about social aspects, but also economic governance aspects of business. So can CSR serve to restore trust in business, to correct the poor corporate governance? And finally, is CSR a legitimacy provider? That's a question I ask, and the question I research. How do I do that? First, and we talked about it before in our dialogue, we have to accept that CSR is a very multifaceted and multidimensional construct. So you can make it up from a content side, where you can say, okay, it covers environmental aspects, it covers social aspects, covers also governance aspects. That's the one side. But on the other side, also from what I would call the channel side, CSR also has two aspects. The one is about communication, and the other is about activity. I took some effort on that by aid of a student of mine. We analyzed the research publications since the year 1953, which often is seen as the starting point for the CSR debate. A book by Bowen about the responsibilities of businessmen was published in 1953. And we analyzed 700 papers that empirically researched CSR, and found that very often the authors do not differentiate between activity on the one side and communication on the other side. They just say it's about CSR. One measures it by communication, one by activity. So implicitly, those authors follow the idea that CSR communication is a kind of accounting thing, so a kind of reporting about the activity. So following that thinking, CSR talk is disclosure, and for the disclosure to be useful, there should be correspondence between disclosure and actual events. So following this line of thinking, there's a fit between the two. There's no gap. But more recently, in organizational research, a new thinking, a communicative and constitutive communication approach has been introduced, which puts more emphasis on communication, which says communication makes up companies. It's very important for companies. So communication itself is kind of activity. Considering communication constitutes organization and communication is an activity itself, there as a consequence can be a gap between activity, real activity, and communication. So the gap comes up. Maybe essential dimensions of ongoing organizational CSR engagement, and the gap may generate beneficial consequences for a broad set of organizational stakeholders. That's by Christensen or also Joe et al. As a result, and that's what I do, I realize that from my empirical study in comparing different CSR strategies, and exactly it's finally 4 strategies which are kind of extreme positions. The progress strategy, where companies talk a lot and do a lot. Greenwash strategy, where only talk is high, but action is low, and so on. We have strategy called neglect and a strategy called silence, where companies do CSR, but in communication they are on the lower end. Yeah. Besides those 4 strategies, I'm interested in general in the effect CSR has on legitimacy. And getting to that point, I develop in this paper 5 hypotheses. The first is only about CSR action, so taking CSR action solely, then taking CSR action solely with the CSR talk and CSR action effects on legitimacy. In the third step, moderation comes in. So does talk moderate CSR action effect on legitimacy? And finally, the hypotheses are about the strategies. The idea behind is that CSR in general is about how businesses perform in society. Legitimacy in turn is about how society views businesses. So the idea is that CSR action is directed to specific stakeholder groups. Those stakeholder groups definitely know about it. The broader society not necessarily knows about it. The broader society has to take efforts to get informed about those activities. On the other hand, communication represents the corporate awareness of CSR, expresses how CSR is integrated or is, how CSR is linked to corporate strategy, and yeah, how deep it is set in corporate strategy. And the idea is that communication is to present this awareness to the broader public and the society. That's that. The question is how to finally measure it and how to get data for it. So the question of the sample comes in, and my research paper is based on a German sample. It's the 110 largest German listed companies. So it's called the HDAX companies. It's composed of the DAX, the MDAX, and the TechDAX. So it's finally the 80 largest companies plus 30 tech companies. That is to make the sample more robust. Germany is a country with traditional implicit CSR, and the time period studied is a 9-year time period studied beginning in 2004. So also the financial crisis is included in this time period, which might have some impact on CSR as well, and company behaviors in general. Finally, the sample consists of a little more than 1,000 company years from 162 companies. That is different from the 110 because in the index some changes occur. And if a company once in this time period has been in my sample, it remains in the sample for the rest of the time period to avoid any selection bias. Yeah, missing data reduce the sample size, and on this, how do we measure it slide, I also want to say a few words about computer-aided content analysis. Did any one of you work with this method already? Okay, content analysis is, like it says, analyzing contents of texts. This text can be single letters, it can be whole books or whatever the unit is. And it analyzes whether this text speaks about a certain topic. It can be measured by the total pages attributed to a special issue relative to the total document. So maybe 2% of pages in an annual report are about CSR or whatever. But it also can be on a sentence or even a word count basis. I follow the word count approach, which is the smallest measurable entity. And I use a dictionary of words, so a dictionary composed of, let's say, 2,000 words that indicate CSR or that indicate legitimacy. And the computer searches those documents for those words and counts. So computers make content analysis very powerful because they enable to have large samples. So by help of computer, it's really possible to quantify the qualitative information that is in the text. Basically, the research bases on 3 building blocks: CSR action, CSR talk, and as outcome, legitimacy. CSR action is measured as the ratings by Asset 4 SG, which is a Thomson Reuters company. CSR talk and legitimacy both are measured via CSR talk, via computer-aided text analysis, and the kata consists of 4 elementary steps. The first is to identify the databases. Here for CSR talk, this is the letters to the shareholders in the annual report. So the letter to the shareholder is a part of the annual report, the first part of the annual report that is not audited, and where the CEO expresses what is important to him as a strategic leader of the company, and where he puts emphasis on those topics that are very important to him, to the company. And even if press agencies or public relations departments are involved, the CEO finally signs this letter, and he will only sign this letter when he is convinced of the contents and the importance of the topics placed. For legitimacy, the database is press articles. This analysis covers approximately 150,000 press articles through the 9-year time period for all those companies. And the idea is that press is the means to express public opinion. So you and me, we get informed by press about corporate behavior, corporate things, and the press, media is a kind of indicator of public opinion. The second step is the creation of the databases, so generation of those 150,000 articles, or also saving the letters to the shareholders for all those companies. The Third step, very important, is the selection of the relevant words, the dictionary. For legitimacy, this is done by a sentiment dictionary, which is available for German language called SentiWS. So a sentiment dictionary which covers positive and negative attributed words with different attribution factors. And those list with the factors is applied to the press articles. For CSR Talk, there is no ready-to-use dictionary. Throughout our research, we developed a CSR dictionary by a sophisticated coding process involving multiple coders who independently attributed their feeling about is a word indicating CSR or not. And to make findings robust, we applied several quality measures like Cohen's kappa to make it to make it reliable at this step. Finally, those dictionaries have been applied to the databases, resulting in our variables. It's just to give you an insight on the method and the process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is the definition of action from the asset 4 ESG database? How do they rate and measure action in this database?
It's an important point because you can say CSR action measured by asset 4, they also rely on any kind of information. And to some extent, I admit, they might rely on information given by the company, but you have data that is quantitative, like, for example, emissions, or like, for example, workers' turnaround, and it's 300 different criteria that come in and that are measured by numbers. So it's compared to the awareness and talk on the right-hand side. It's really a kind of indication of what the company does with numbers and with absolutely quantifiable data. How does the model look like? It's separated in 3 steps. The first one, as I mentioned before, is to look at the effects CSR talk and CSR action have. Models 2A and B are for the interaction of the two.
When you talk about CSR talk, it's all with the shareholders, right? It's not about the customers or the market opinion. Because you know, the CSR action, they are objective measures like observations. Legitimacy, they are more about mass media, public opinion on the company. But CSR talk, I thought you were going to talk about how the company communicates their actions to kind of different stakeholders. But in your case, it's only the shareholders, right? The people that understand the shareholders. Because you didn't have data, or because that's...
Yeah. It's really it's a question how to get this information, and the idea is that, in my opinion, this letter in the annual report. Some studies say it's the most read part of the annual report and so on. And it not only addresses shareholders, it addresses a wide variety of stakeholders as well. And it's the part where year by year, annually, the CEO puts his important topics. So this is the source where to get information on the awareness the company has for CSR. Yeah, that's what talk makes up. Yeah. But I got your point. So your argument is that the talk measure is a little more narrow than the other two, right?
Well, it's really hard to define, right? So you can define talk in many ways, depending on what you want to talk to. So I really like your approach. Well, but if you call it CSR awareness, I know exactly, you know, I would be more, I would like more what you're collecting. Actually, you're messing with that. But when you mention CSR talk, in my mind, I was thinking about how the company communicates, you know, advertising companies or LinkedIn or these, you know,
yeah, okay.
activities that to me they are very important. But that's fine. That's
No, but it's an important feedback. So I will reconsider that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, these are the models. Also included several control variables, also several robustness checks, and what do we find? So I think it doesn't make sense to spend too much time on that slide. It shows that I did those. I calculated those models. I conducted several tests for heteroscedasticity and so on to have it fine. I also included several robustness checks. For example, I made a variation of the legitimacy. I said I define a minimum number of articles, which I set to 24. So it's 2 articles per month for a company. Only if this minimum number is reached, we can measure legitimacy. Because we only have 5 articles for a year, it may be some kind of random. So that's why I did a robustness check on that, but that's fine. In another step, I excluded the companies from the finance, insurance, and real estate sector, because that's the sector which was kind of origin of the financial crisis, and maybe with some different processes ongoing. Also for the control variables and so on, there have been a lot of changes, but the results are very stable on that. What do we find? Very interesting, in my opinion, is that CSR action and CSR talk, they both do not have an effect on legitimacy taken separately. For action, there might be again the argument that that public opinion or public society has to take efforts to get informed, and it's an information gathering process that is required, and information just is not spread, so there's no effect. For talk, I think it's a kind of reluctance of the society to believe those words, the awareness expressed of the CEO. So there's no effect neither. But we find that a moderation effect is ongoing. So if CSR talk level is high, then CSR action has a stronger effect on legitimacy. And this means for the strategies, so it doesn't prove true that the progress strategy, which would mean high levels of talk and high levels of action, this does not lead to higher legitimacy. But when looking at the two contrasting strategies of silence and greenwashing, I find that silence is better with regard to legitimacy, whereas greenwashing is worse. So obviously, there are means to detect action and to measure action for the society, and to know about the talk as well. The idea would be that especially if talk takes kind of extreme high or extreme low level, then the society has some kind of incentive to take the effort and to analyze the activity of those companies. And then the effect on legitimacy occurs. When we go back to this here, we see that obviously this corridor where action and talk to some extent match each other is a kind of neutral area with regard to legitimacy, whereas these two extreme strategies affect legitimacy. Okay, what might be conclusions from that and takeaways from that? For research, I think it is important to strictly distinguish and to strictly say what is measured, whether research is about activity or about communication. It makes a difference, and I think it's important to make it more clear what exactly is researched. Moreover, it makes sense to focus on this constitutive aspect and further investigate what's going on with the gap between the two. For practice, it means that managers should have a plan on their whole CSR by talk and by action. They should at least try to balance it, or absolutely avoid greenwashing. And even if there are some restraints because you have some reasons, marketing issues, why you have to put awareness high and talk much, or some industry specifications why activity levels are high, then you have to follow up with the other part. So then you have to follow up with talk or activity to get it matched. Okay, basically that's about the presentation, so now we can start into the discussion. Okay, thank you very much.